Dodge. We're part of the Nebraska Medical Center. So it's like Dodge and 42nd Street. So you've probably driven down, every time you try to get to the old market or downtown, you've driven by us. We are a healthcare college. We specialize in just healthcare related programs that lead to degrees and actual credentials. And usually we've got a couple of our admissions people here, so I'll kind of give you a little overview of the college itself and some of the things you need to be thinking about if you're getting into a healthcare career or you're looking at getting into a healthcare career, and then some of the programs that we offer that you can start off and even in high school get some jobs and get some good healthcare experience, and that will benefit you when you try to decide exactly where you want to go to college and what you want to do in college and stuff too. Excuse me though that I have this great cold that I'm just getting over, so if every once in a while I have to grab some water, or I hope I'm not going to one of my coughing attacks, but it's one of those hits you hard sometimes with the different kinds of problems you can run into with colds. What I'd like to really talk to you folks at your point in time is the fact that a lot of kids don't really realize how important what they do in high school, the kinds of classes they take, the kinds of grades they get, and the kinds of preparation they do, like taking the ACT test and stuff, really make a difference when it comes to getting into college, especially if you're looking to get into a career in healthcare. Healthcare is a booming industry, very honestly, but there are very limited number of seats and limited number of students we can take. Mainly because when you think about it, you can't just go to class every day and learn something without actually having that patient experience. You actually have to work with patients in whatever type of field you're looking at to get the kinds of experience you need. Well, some of those patient experiences, that's very limited. We call them clinical sessions, and most all healthcare courses have some clinical sessions. Sometimes from the very time you're a freshman in college through your senior year, some programs wait a little bit longer. But when you're there and you're working with patients, there's just not that many environments available to put the number of students we have that would like to be participating into those sessions. So we have to really limit the number of students we can accept, which means you have a tendency to take the cream of the crop. You have a tendency to look at those students that have the highest ACT scores, that have the highest grade point average, especially in math and science, and students that took high school classes that really challenged them in math and science, so that you have the most, that your particular high school offers in regards to if there's, physiology or an advanced chemistry or those kinds of courses really will make a difference in terms of your preparation for college. In a healthcare college, the courses are very structured and very, what we call sometimes lockstepped, because it's not a huge institution and you don't have the ability to kind of pick and choose what you want to take. All of the courses are very streamlined so that you get done as much as you need to get done in a shorter period of time. So you don't want to be going to school for 6 years. You don't want to be dragging it out. But you need to be able to be prepared that it's kind of a pretty stringent process, and there's pretty high standards. So you not only have to get admitted to the college because of there's your grade point in high school, how much you've been involved in the community, if you have any kind of experience, those kinds of things all count. As well as once you're at college, there's pretty high standards of staying in the programs. You can't flunk out of a class and still stay in whatever particular program you're interested in. It just doesn't work, and there's just not that kind of flexibility. So you have to be well prepared to know the kind of rigor that you're going to be getting into. Clarkson, like I mentioned, has a great reputation, is one of the oldest healthcare colleges in the States, and we have a number of different programs, and as the great screen kind of, I'll get to the point where if you go to our academics, and it's kind of hard to read sometimes, but we have programs in nursing, in healthcare business, in physical therapist assistant, and in radiology technology, with that also you can get medical imaging degree as well. And we also have some new programs we're called healthcare sciences, which are more generalized programs that prepare someone to go on for a master's degree to become a social worker or something to that effect, that those particular programs are not just bachelor related programs. So when Mrs. Krieger mentioned the fact that I work with the non-credit programs, and so one of the classes that I oversee is our nurse aid program as well as our medication aid program. And those are preparation classes you can take before getting into the nursing program, as well as to get just decent, good healthcare experience no matter what kind of field you want to be going into. They're not credit, so they only last about a month to 2 months if you're taking the evening sessions. You can take them during the summer when you're off school, or you can take them during the evening now if you have transportation available. The nurse aid class prepares people to work in assisted living facilities, long-term care facilities, and a lot of hospitals. They might not necessarily be called nurse aides. Some places call them nursing assistants. Some places call them patient care techs. Some places call them patient attendants. There's all different kinds of terms that are used. But basically, you learn some really basic information about anatomy and physiology and how that affects the kind of clients you're working with. And you learn a lot of real basic nursing skills, like how to help someone get in and out of bed, how to feed someone that might be unconscious, how to help somebody get dressed, how to help somebody walk that's unstable and needs to use a gait belt or some other kinds of device like a walker or something. You learn how to give bed baths. You learn how to take care of somebody that cannot totally take care of themselves. And it's those kind of skills that really build on a nursing career. But those are real basic things that not just nurses have to know, but everybody has to know in healthcare. Doesn't matter if you're a physical therapist or a respiratory therapist or a radiology technologist, you still need to know those basic kinds of skills. For instance, if someone is impaired and they happen to be in a wheelchair, you need to know how to help them get out of that wheelchair safely and either get to their bed or get to the radiology table, or you name it, those kinds of things. So in a nurse aid class, you learn those things pretty quickly. It's an intense, like I said, the daytime classes are 3 days a week, and it goes for about 4 weeks at the most. You do have an actual clinical experience with the class. You go for a short period of time to a long-term care facility with a instructor and a number of other students, and you actually work with patients. You get to put those skills that you learned in class into actual practice, and it really makes a difference when there's real live patients there. I mean, it's somebody to talk to, somebody to interact with. You can really see the difference of how much those kinds of skills that you've learned make an impact. It also helps you really get a good idea of how healthcare works and the kinds of facilities that you have available to go to and the kinds of different people that work within those facilities. Unless you actually work at an assisted living facility, for instance, you might not know that there's people that work in dietary that help make the food and serve the food and determine what food to purchase. There's people that handle the activities to help the residents make sure they're getting up and moving around, making sure they're stimulated mentally of what they're doing and that kind of thing. You work with the physical therapist, you work with the respiratory therapist, you work with all those different kinds of groups, and so you get a good chance to see what other kinds of healthcare careers there are and what other kinds of areas you might be interested in. So it's a good start, especially if you're looking at getting a job to get some experience, making some extra money over the summer. A lot of facilities love to work with young people on a very flexible schedule. Maybe you just work 2 Saturdays a month or something to that effect. They're also great jobs, especially if you do something, go on and get like the medication aid job, because they're not quite so demanding time-wise, and you might have time to study while you're at work. You're there to learn a lot of things while you're there, and you'll have those opportunities. The medication aid is really the second step up from being a nurse aid. It's a little more, it's a shorter class. There's not a clinical, but it's a little more intense in that you are learning about medications, some very basic medications, and how you would administer those medications, what you need to know about the side effects, how they might affect somebody, so you could be really looking at, is this person having an adverse reaction because they just took this medication for the first time. Medication aids work mostly in assisted living facilities, and they're there to help the patients that, for whatever reason, they're functioning, they've got their little apartment, they live there by themselves, but they can't really be trusted to take their medications on a regular basis. And if you think about some of the elderly folks you might know, they know they have to take their high blood pressure medication, but come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they can't really remember, did I take it this morning, or did I take it at lunch, or did I not take it at all? And so by having a medication aid in a facility like that, the aid has a med cart and all the individual's medications, and they go out and literally dispense it to each person to make sure that they've taken the medication when they're supposed to take it. It pays well. Right now, there's a huge demand for medication aids in the Omaha area because we have gotten so many new assisted living facilities that just have been built. Pays anywhere from $14 to $15 an hour. Many of them offer benefits, even for part-time folks have benefits. So it's a great job to get into, especially to be able to experience working with patients and, you know, just kind of see what healthcare is overall. Most all facilities, though, require that you have taken a nurse aid class and the medication aid class because they want, again, to be able to make sure that that individual not only knows how to dispense the medications, but knows how to help the person that they're working with as well. So it just kind of flows into themselves. Most of the nursing schools in the greater Omaha area also require that you have taken a nurse aid class before you can be admitted into the nursing school. And that is mainly to make sure that you've learned not only those skills, you've got those basics under your belt, but that you really understand some of the basic things that nurses and healthcare providers do. And so they make sure that you really have a good idea that that's what you want to do. It really makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It's better to take a short class for a couple months and get the idea that, you know, I really don't like this idea of working directly with patients than to have to get into nursing school and maybe go 2 years sometimes. At some schools, you go 2 years before you actually work with a patient to find out that's not what you really want to do. You don't want to waste that much time and money and effort and, you know, all the studying you can think about putting into it. With the nursing schools, and please do not think that that is just a girl's job anymore. Well over a third of our nursing students are gentlemen, and there's a lot of potential for career advancement within nursing in and of itself. And when you think about it, nursing's one of those careers that offers a wide variety of places to work as well as the types of people you're working with. You're doing everything from maybe you want to work with mothers and babies and just newborn infants to pediatrics and little kids and teenagers, to working in a school, to working in doctor's offices, to working in clinics, to working in hospitals, acute care hospitals. A significant number of our graduates hire on as patient care techs while they're in school at Nebraska Medicine and then go on to their nursing careers at Nebraska Medicine, which as the state's largest healthcare institution, also the region's largest transplant institution, you know, it offers so much potential. And with the new cancer center alone, we'll have over 1,200 new jobs starting sometime in the next 2 years to get the healthcare workers that need to just work within that cancer center. So it's a huge growth opportunity, as well as the idea that there's such a wide range of programs you can get into. Within Clarkson's nursing programs, we have a Bachelor's of Science, which is a 4-year degree. You can start with us from the beginning and complete it in 4 years, or you can go to Metro and get your undergraduate, your general education courses, get your second-year courses at UNO and transfer in and try to get your nursing courses completed in the last 2 to 3 years. It really depends on the student. We get a wide mix of students that do that both ways. It really depends on how you want to work at it. We do offer on-campus housing, and it is more of an urban environment. It's not a big school like UNL, but it does really, because it's a smaller school, allow for that personal interaction. You really get to know your classmates, you get to know your instructors, you get to know exactly what you need to do because you're just a walk down the hall to talk to them to get some extra help and those kinds of things. From our bachelor's program, we offer a master's in science and nursing, and if you might have seen one of the scrolling signs that we're, for the 5th year in a row, have been one of the top 5 in the United States Masters of Science and Nursing programs with the U.S. World and News Report. It's highly, highly ranked. That particular program is all online except for the clinical portion of it where you're actually working at a facility. But there's a number of options you have in that program. You can get a Master's of Science and Nursing in Healthcare Administration, meaning you want to be an administrator, you want to be a clinical leader. You can get a Family Nurse Practitioner program a degree, or there's a a generalized nurse practitioner degree that covers